Welcome to the One Hand at a Time podcast. I'm your host, Chris Welton, and today I have a special guest. I'm telling you it'll be an incredibly impactful story for you. And as you know, if you listen to the show before, it's usually just two people having a conversation. I don't really have any set questions. We're just going to chop it up like we're sitting around smoking a cigar and having a drink, or I'm drinking some water today, so maybe some water. But Rick, thanks for taking the time out to join the show.
Of course, brother. Blessed to be here.
Yeah, definitely. I'm excited to get into it, man. So Rick is a dominating force in the mortgage space, an incredible father, and just has a lot of story to tell and share. I think would be very relatable with everybody. But I want to start at age 17. I don't think I've ever said that to a guest before, but I want to start at age 17. Can you tell me what you were doing differently at age 17 than most 17-year-olds were?
Yeah, it probably goes back to 16, Chris, to be honest. I'm a junior in high school, Rogers, Arkansas, and I'm dating my ninth grade girlfriend. We met in ninth grade typing class, and I get home from school one day, and Andrea, my wife's name, she's at my house, and she's like, "Hey, Rick, I need to talk to you." I'm like, awesome. I hope it wasn't a bad talk. Like, oh boy, I'm about to get dumped. And she looks at me with tears in her eyes and she says, "We're pregnant."
Wow.
Yeah. So at 16, junior in high school, my girlfriend, who I absolutely adored and was in love with, informed me that I was about to have a little baby.
Wow. So we're 16, got a baby on the way. What happens next?
Well, obviously my life turns upside down. Being a junior in high school, unfortunately, we didn't come from much money, didn't have really any money, didn't have familial support. And so I was at a place like, oh my God, what am I going to do?
Yeah. So you have you have to have a conversation with your family, right? I mean, that's the next thing I'm thinking about as a father, as someone who had their first kid at 20, right? So, I mean, a little bit older, but not much. You have to have that conversation with family. And then, what are your thoughts there? Am I going to drop out of school? Am I going to have to get a job now? Like, what's going on?
So, the conversation with the family was easy. Weirdly, for most of my life, I had a single mom. At that point, had a stepdad. Home life wasn't great at all. She was going through a divorce at that time, and so she had a ton on her plate. And so just had a conversation with my mom and said, "Hey, Mom, I'm going to have a kid." And weirdly, my mom had me at 16. So obviously I wasn't the one that broke the cycle. And obviously probably a shock to her, but not something she wasn't familiar with.
Yeah. My mom had me at 19, and I had my first kid at 20, so not too far from the cycle there. All right, so here we are, junior, gonna have a baby. We have the conversation with the parents. Mom's not too shocked, but like, what do you do next to prepare? Like, I mean, what do you like? Are you guys now going to move in together? Like, what's going on?
So, the conversation with my mom was what we talked about. my first thing was, who in my sphere of influence can I get advice from? My mom was going through her stuff, really wasn't in a position to give me the guidance I needed. So, I reached out to my best friends, parents, very close to them, second parents to me, and had the conversation with them, asked for advice. I was playing football at the time, and selfishly, hate to admit it, like that was one of my first thoughts is, oh my God, my football career is over.
There's nothing selfish. You're 16 years old, dude. Like, I mean, come on. Let's just be honest. Like, that's the last thing in the world you're going to think of. You're going to think about football first. You're just 16 years old. It is what it is. Yeah, nothing selfish there.
Yeah, but Chris, the one thing. So immediately when Andrea, my girlfriend at the time, tells me that we're going to have a kid, there was never a thought of we weren't having a kid.
Yeah,
that wasn't on the table. Wasn't a conversation. Yeah. And I reached out to my sphere of influence, and probably one of the most disappointing times of my life, to be honest. And as I look back, I don't fault the advice that was given to me, because the intent was full protection of Rick. And like, how are we going to help this kid out? What advice can we give this kid? And I was a kid, fairly immature for a 16-year-old. And those conversations, and maybe there were conversations I needed to hear of, hey, what are your options?
Yeah.
I didn't have an option in my mind. My option was, I'm going to fulfill my responsibilities. I'm in love with Andrea, and there is no way in hell that I'm not going to be there to support her and raise my child. But I tell you, I felt like I was on an island, because the conversations or advice that I was getting from people around me was, well, have you thought about? And the answer was no. So it was in the beginning was a pretty dark place. I didn't have financial means. I was going to high school, playing high school football. I was already working one job. So I'd go to school, go to practice, and then I'd work at a print shop from 5:30 till midnight, rinse and repeat, get up and do the same thing. And I was already on my own, moved out of my house at 15, 16 years old, got my own apartment, and was already paying for everything. And it, as you can imagine, wasn't easy to do. And so it was a dark place, man. If I'm being honest, I've never shared that with anybody.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I think that for me, because when I found out that my girlfriend we were gonna have a baby at that age, I was 19 at the time, 20 when my daughter was born. It never crossed my mind to not have her, and I think that probably it's because, and this is probably the same, we have shared some similarities and some stuff. I think it's because here's a chance for us to give a child stuff we didn't have, right? To give them a real household, a loving, like, for me, it was like, I wanted to love this kid like I had never been loved, right? Like, I wanted to treat this kid like opposite of the way I was treated. You know what I mean? So that's rare for us, for young men. Usually they run. But like, I think because of the broken past and the backgrounds and stuff we come from, that was our natural instinct, was to protect and take care of this kid, right? So I believe that was, at least for me, that's what it was. Do you think that's probably the same for you?
100%. And I was blessed to have a partner that wasn't an option for her either.
Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna have a baby, then we're gonna be a senior in high school, right? And you guys, I'm assuming, are living in your apartment together now.
Yep. Living, living in our apartment. Uh, that's that shift. Once we got past the shock of, hey, we're 16-year-olds, we're gonna have a kid at 17. Um, Obviously, went into solutioning mode of, all right, how the hell are we gonna do this?
Yeah.
And so went to work. I, luckily had a great coach, mentor, truly cared about me. He rallied the school system because, we had to make adjustments. I shifted from, my junior year, prior to our daughter Kennedy being born, our senior year, shifted from going to school full time and, practicing, working one job to he helped me get into a work program. So I'd go to school from 7 to noon. I would work at the print shop from noon to 5. And then from 5 till 1 or 2 in the morning, got a job at Pizza Inn, slinging pizza. And, just that's what we needed to do to provide for our newly formed family.
Yeah. So, and were you able to play football your senior year?
Played football my senior year, navigated it. Our daughter wasn't born until October, so we were able to get through the majority of the football season before she arrived, and ended up having a really good season.
Okay, so here we are. We got a baby. Finished our senior year of football, and now people are telling you, go get a full-time job. Don't think about going to school. Like, you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah. Took me to another dark place. So football was over.
Yeah.
Had a great year. Did really well. The Army, Air Force, Navy, Marine recruiters come to school one day, get advice. Hey, you may want to go sit in the auditorium and listen. Listen to the recruiters. Met with Air Force recruiter after the presentation was done. And he looks me in the eye, Chris, and says, kid, you're 17. You have a new baby. You don't come from money. You don't have any financial support. Your only way out is to join the military.
Yeah.
So I signed up for the Air Force.
Okay. How long do we do that for?
So we didn't do the Air Force. Going back to my coach, Coach Cooper, this was about March or April, call to God thing. I don't know. My wife's never told me. She may have called him. But I get a call. I'm supposed to ship out 2 days after graduation, head down to San Antonio for basic training. Really struggling with giving up my dream. A dream that a seed was planted with my grandfather at 5 years old, who bought my first set of football pads, that I could play college football. And that was my path. And that path was over. I was about to head out to the military. And I get a call from Coach Cooper. This is probably late March, early April. And he's like, Hogle, come see me down in the field house. I'm like, all right. Didn't know what it was about. That was it. So I show up at the field house, and I'd already been having conversations with my wife at that time. So we ended up getting married, justice of the peace, in the basement of a house. Not ideal for my wife. But so I'm married. Coach Cooper calls me in and, says, how you doing? I'm like, Coach, pretty worn out. You know, start at 7, end at 2. Groundhog Day every day, 7 days a week. Didn't have school, luckily, obviously Saturdays and Sundays. So, I was putting in full-time work at both places. And he's like, how you doing? And I was vulnerable. I'm like, Coach, I'm not good. I'm not fit for the military. It just wasn't my passion. It was a means to support my family. And he's like, well, why are you doing it? And I was like, Coach, it's my only option. And he looks at me and goes, it's not your only option. I said, well, that's what everybody's telling me. Then I've got it. Or I stay and I'm a career print shop guy, or maybe I get promoted to the pizza inn manager. And that wasn't appealing. And he was like, well, Rick, these a lot of these schools keep calling and asking what happened to you. Well, I didn't know that. This was back before. This is 1995. It wasn't all the Instagram coaches reaching out. Phones, no cell phones. If there were cell phones, I obviously couldn't afford it. And he's like, well, do you want to still play football? And I'm like, of course, Coach, but I can't. And probably it's one of those moments, Chris, and I know you've had them. Like, there's a few in your life that you have. And that was one of those moments where he showed me that there was another path. And he's like, do you want me to make phone calls for you to these coaches? And this is April. All the scholarships are given away. And I'm like, Coach, there are no more scholarships. I can't afford college. My only way out. And he said, Hogle, let me get to work. And he got to work for me.
And where'd you end up?
So he scheduled a couple of visits for me to go visit colleges. Obviously, Division I's out of play at this point from a scholarship perspective. So I went and visited 3 colleges, Henderson and Arkadelphia, Arkansas, Division II school. I went and visited a school in Missouri that was really good. And then he was a graduate of Northeast Oklahoma, in Tahlequah, Oklahoma. And so I made a trip to all 3. And then he became my advisor. He stepped in. One, gave me hope and opened up my eyes to opportunity, and virtually became my agent and helped me land at Northeast Oklahoma to play football, and was able to get me a full ride scholarship.
So full ride scholarship, the wife and baby come with you to school?
Yep. So a lot of navigating to do. Put myself in a ton of debt, like I think a lot of us did, back then out of college. Racked up a ton of student debt to get myself through college, help pay for, just simple things like diapers and housing and formula and groceries. The coolest part was I was getting to follow my dream. Something that I never thought was possible.
So we play college football. We graduate from school. Now we've got a kid that's 4 years old.
4 years old.
4 years old. Where do we go from there?
So had a great college football career. Was blessed to be able to get invited to the Division II All-Star game. So got to play in the Division II All-Star game, which again gave me hope. hey, I can go for the NFL. So spent some time trying to make it to the NFL. Like most of us in college football, I wanted the NFL more than it wanted me. And so that's when the wake up call came, and had to figure out a career path. And so I got a coaching degree, wanted to be a teacher and a coach. Most influential people in my life, obviously. My coach had just helped walk me through the most challenging time in my life.
Yeah.
And I had a passion to do the same thing for others. But got another wake-up call, graduate college, and my wife has a conversation with me on graduation day. She says, Rick, I love you, and I know you want to be a coach, but I have aspirations that are much more than what a coaching stipend is going to pay for. So you need to figure out a different job, or I didn't like the or.
Yeah.
So I never went into coaching. Grew up in Northwest Arkansas, Walmart country. I watched several of my buddies' dads have nice things, nice houses, nice cars, executives of Walmart, and I thought that was going to be my path. So I got into Walmart's management program.
Okay. Walmart's management program, you ended up not too far from where I live right now, right? You ended up in Plainfield, Indiana, or Avon, one or the other.
Plainfield, Indiana.
Yeah.
Never left north of the Mason-Dixon line, Chris, and showed up there in October. So culture shock for me.
Yeah, a little bit. And that was late 90s, 2000?
Yep, that was 99.
99, okay.
Yep.
Yeah, so I was living about 10 minutes from there in 1999. Literally, I was living on the south side of Indianapolis in 1999, right there off of Southport Road, so not too far from Plainfield. All right, so we go into that space, and we don't end up there. Obviously, we're probably having this conversation. You were there for a little while, but like we met through the mortgage because of a coaching program we were in together, and then the relationship we have because we both shared experiences in leadership in the mortgage space. So the reason I wanted the listeners to hear your story first, and just so everybody knows, Rick now has 3 children, and he's still married to the same girl he dated from 9th grade. Like so that's, to me, that is like amazing feat. First of all, I did not go that path. That was not my person. My person is in the other room actually with my son. But so Rick, they made through the thick or thin. They're there. Like, I mean, now here we are 30 years later, right? And we were in retail for a little while, and then had a break to get into the mortgage business, right? And you're not just in the mortgage business now, you're at a super high level. And I want to get into that space first, but give me kind of just a brief rundown of, you started in the mortgage space as an originator?
Yep. Started as a loan officer early 2002. Started out in the subprime space on the retail side.
Okay.
And, Chris, for me,
you working for Countrywide, or who you working for?
Was working for New Century Mortgage.
Okay.
The originations came easy for me. Maybe it was I had no option. At this time, my daughter's 5 or 6 years old. We're living in Dallas, Texas. I have no real job. So the Walmart thing didn't work out for me. Personal choice. It just wasn't going to be my path. So 9 days before Christmas in 2000, left Walmart, moved to Dallas with no job, and started valeting cars, bouncing at nightclubs, stumbled into commercial real estate, tenant rep business, and that was kind of my entry into mortgage. Making 150 phone calls a day, trying to get business owners to let a 22-year-old kid negotiate their office lease for them. And I guess a sales guy likes to be sold by a sales guy. And I was able to connect with a branch manager of a mortgage company, and kind of the rest is history. That's where I got my introduction into mortgage with New Century Mortgage.
Yeah, you know what's interesting about the phone calls is it's such a lost art today. And I had a I coach large groups of mortgage people and individuals, and and I see the biggest gap between who I was as a salesperson early on and who you were. I mean, I started in the automotive industry selling when I was 19, so like I would just bang the phones. Like I got really good on the phone, and I was really bad on the phone first. But it was all reps. It was just repetition over and over and over and over and over again. I mean, if you make 1,000 phone calls, you're going to sell somebody something. Like it's going to happen, right? Like you just have to be, you have to know that you're going to get slapped around and beat up through that phone, but not, they can't grab you physically, right? So like, it is what it is. You know, I'm always like, what's the worst thing that can happen? They can talk about your mom and hang up on you. Okay, next, right? And to move that out of the way, and I love that you were a back against the wall, like you know what I mean. Like, and I can't tell you how many times in my life and career my back has been against the wall, and I'm a dangerous individual when my back's against the wall. Not like I'm going to hurt you, but like if you're my competition, you might as well go home, right? Like because like when I'm in a spot where I feel like I've got to perform, man, I just don't know anything other than going for it, right? And not being afraid of failure. Knock me down, do whatever you got to do. I'm going to figure out a way to get to that next spot. So you go crush it in the mortgage space. You're originating subprime, get through that. I got in 2005, so not too far around back the time you did. And then of course 6, 7, 8, 9 happened, right? I mean, we had all this crazy stuff. I did a ton of no income, no asset, that type of stuff. All went away overnight. But were you in origination during the mortgage crisis?
I was. So at New Century, 3 years originating, got an opportunity to become a branch manager. And so first 3 years originated, then stepped into a leadership role, did that for 2 years, and then 2007 happened.
Yeah. Yeah. So 2007 happens, and do you have to go back into origination to survive, or what do you do?
Yeah, so I was that guy, Chris. Yeah, you know, I didn't have a network. You know, all I knew was New Century, and you know, we were informed. Company shutting down. I'm running the branch. I'm a loyal dude, and so I'm the last guy. Like the last guy on the ship, put the keys in the FedEx envelope and ship them back to California. And in that process, interview several different companies. And back when net branching was, you know, an option for us, I joined Supreme Lending as a net branch manager. So got back into origination. I was still kind of originating at New Century, helping our originators originate, and then had to go full force back into originations in 2007.
You know what's interesting about that time, and just like the recent time we just went through too, and so many people, like it got bad back then. Like I remember having wires not show up, and our warehouse line closed overnight. It came in, we had no warehouse line. Like I could go on about all the stories, but the truth of the matter is that people were still buying houses. People still needed loans. You just had to find a place to put them, right? And the business was still there. It didn't just go away and nobody was doing anything. Now everybody makes you believe that it did, because so many people just, you know, they just stuck their head in the sand and prayed to God it would come back. Like all these people we've seen since 2022 to even right now are like, oh, that refi boom comes, we're sure going to be good again. I'm like, dude, Barry told us the refi boom was coming 3 years ago, and it still ain't coming, right? So the difference is, I believe, is that people like myself and like you, like, go ahead, crush the market, do whatever it's going to do. We're going to find a way to win. We're going to find a way to go be successful because we have to. We have to, right? Like we've got families to support and other things. So what I really respect about you is that, and I don't think you knew it at the time when all this was happening at 16 to where you are now, all these things you went through became, I call them receipts, but proof that throw whatever you want at Rick. Go ahead. Give me your best shot. Because chances are I've already beat it, right? I've already got somewhere else, right? So like you did this and you did that, and I could just check out what I did here. Like I'm the same, right? I call it the adversity backpack. I actually did a TED talk on it. And you have this backpack, and I pull the back, I pull a receipt out. I'm like, okay, I got something. I've been through this before. Good luck taking me down on this one. So you have all these receipts, right? All this proof that whatever they throw at you, you're able to overcome and build ways to get through it. And you've had this foundation, and just it makes us not unbeatable, but damn close, right? Damn close. And that's the separation between the people that we're competing with, like for me, for new coaching clients or speaking events, for you, for recruiting at such a high level. I'm sorry, but most people we compete with, they can't hold a candle, brother. Like they got nothing in their bag of tricks that's, oh, I'm sorry, you wrecked your Porsche when you were 16. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they don't get it. And one of the main reasons I wanted you to come on today is because I wanted people to hear this story about who you really are, not just this ultra successful mortgage guy, powerful recruiter, but how Rick got to be Rick in the space, right? I think that's the most important piece of it. And so we're Supreme Lending, we go from Supreme Lending to Cherry
Creek. Yep.
Cherry Creek Mortgage, right?
15% Supreme Lending. And
yep. And then we get them into a merger, right, with Guild, right? So now you're at Guild, and there's plenty of people listening to this that work at Guild or worked for Guild or know Guild, right? That'll listen to the show. But so you're at Guild now, and I know this number because we've talked about it a bunch. But you have this region, and how much volume do you think you'll do in 26 in your region?
Yeah, we're gonna touch 4 billion. That's our goal. We're up 60+% year over year. So I think we've got a really good shot at it.
So 4 billion is bigger than a lot of companies. Just so people can understand it. Like the company that I was a partner in and ran, we touched right at just under $1 billion, right? It was the biggest year we ever had, right? So like that's a company. This is a region, and you're going to do 4 times that. You're up 60% year over year in what people are calling a down market still, right? I'm working on some content today with some of my one-on-one clients who are crushing it, right? I mean, I got some guys that are doing 10, 12 million a month, and another guy did 51 deals himself last month. Like, I always find it interesting when people are telling me how the market's bad. I'm like, well, here's 11 people that I work with one-on-one that the market's not bad. So I want to know what your thought is. Do you believe that all the things that you went through early on in life were to prepare you for the moments you have now?
It is, Chris, and it took me a while to realize this. You talk about the adversity backpack. I truly didn't mature and progress as a leader until I didn't only embrace adversity, I looked for adversity.
Yeah.
Because one thing that I had watched in our space for years is a lot of our peers, when adversity hit, they immediately go to the market's going to come back. The market's going to come back. And they play defense. And when you've been through adversity, you mentioned a little earlier, when your back's against the wall, there's nothing. I grew up in a trailer.
Yeah.
I can go back to a trailer. That doesn't define my happiness or my success. And I think guys like you that in your upbringing and the challenges that you had, way worse than what I had to go through. When you can meet that adversity and and go into it in an offensive position versus defensive position, it just gives us a, a leg up on all of our competition.
Yeah, I tell you what, I was fortunate enough to spend some time with Ray Lewis last weekend or 2 weekends ago in St. Louis, and Ray's a very charismatic dude, right? Like, I mean, NFL linebacker. I think the best to ever play the position. If not, it's maybe Mike Singletary. Like, maybe like but like Ray is just that guy. And the cool thing is his kids went to the same high school I went to in Orlando, right? So we talked about that a little bit because they won a state championship when one of his kids was there. But he talked about one of the things I loved what he said was, and I think that you and I are this way, and that's why we thrive when markets shift, is that you don't have to get ready if you stay ready, right? And so you see executives when the market shifts the wrong way, they haven't been stay ready. Now they got to get ready again. So now they're hiding because they don't want to be on anybody's radar because they know what's the saying? Closest to the top, closest to the door. You know what I mean? So they're doing this move here when if you're staying ready all the time in the space. And when I was an originator, when I was running car dealerships, I was the guy who was constantly role playing, having conversations, trying to be better, trying to be ready for that challenge, the next thing that came. And it that's why the people that are dialed in with that will find ways to win. I'll give you an example. One, and outside the mortgage business, I was running a Honda dealership, and in 2012 or 13, there was a tsunami in Japan. So the tsunami hit Japan, and the place that ran all the circuit boards for all the Hondas was destroyed. So we had no circuit boards for Hondas. Like, we had nothing. We couldn't build any Hondas. So we went from having like 100 Hondas in stock to having 10. And that's all we could get was whatever could be built in the US. And so we had to figure out ways to win. And we adapted. We went more heavy on used cars. We figured things out. We've incentivized people to order cars and we still won. We figured out a way while everybody else was falling apart. Right. So you're running this great region. You're up 60%. The people are listening to this call and they're like, man, I want to know more about that. Like, how can I get involved with a, somebody who's got a proven track record of winning from not just in the space, but in life? Like, how would you suggest people reach out to you?
I mean, obviously they could call myself.
Okay.
Probably the easiest way. LinkedIn is a good path as well.
You okay? We put your cell phone number in the show notes.
Let's do it.
Okay, I'll put that in the show notes. And look, he's got so many more things to talk about in that mortgage space because we work together closely. We tried it. We're supposed to do calls once a week, but he travels a lot, so we miss from time to time. But my main goal today was to get you on here so people could see who you really were and help you shine even more. Because I think you've got to 4 billion without people knowing the reason you got to 4 billion. And I think that you could easily double that by people knowing who you are.
I appreciate that, Chris.
Okay. And you have so much more to share, so many other things that you can really focus on to help people grow their business. I mean, we had a conversation, I think it was yesterday. You said, yeah, I recruited that guy for 8 years. I'm like, what? Like 8 years? I'm like, that's 2 presidential terms, dude. I'm like, that's a long time, dude. That's a long time, right? So, but now they're with you and they're crushing it and going on. So, if you want to grow your business, do something different, go work for a leader that's legit in the space, you should definitely reach out to Rick and have a conversation. Okay. Dude, hey, it was a pleasure having you on here, man. I enjoy our conversations. I know you're gonna be here in like less than 2 months, so I can't wait to go spend a day and grab some dinner with you and hang out and enjoy what we got going on then. Okay.
We get to go to a pretty cool event while I'm up there. Wow.
We do. Yeah. We get to see some real big names from John Maxwell, Ed Milet, Tim Tebow.
Yeah.
Some of those guys. And and I'll introduce you to a couple of my buddies that I coached some football with, and I think we'll have a great night. So, okay.
Well, Chris, respect to you, man. Really appreciate what you're doing in the coaching space. There's such a leadership gap out there right now, especially in our space, and getting connected with a leader that has faced real adversity in life and can help other leaders navigate through what we believe is an adverse time right now. I'd argue it may be the best time we've ever seen in our industry to position ourselves for growth. You're doing good work, and blessed you in my life, and I can call you coach.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you for the kind words.